Hey guys, it's Alex. So this video is going to be called Cathar Prophecies, Lion Gates, and the Age of Wormwood. And I wrote this article because I was actually doing research on the subject of this Cathar prophecy, which I'll get into, uh, for a video, or this video rather, but then I decided to write a whole article for that since there's just so many different connections going on here. But yeah, let's just get into it. So I get into uh, the subject of Ragnarok, or what we saw in the last videos, the last two videos rather, and it definitely connects with the concept of wormwood, right? That you see in Revelation 8, because in Norse end times prophecies, it talks about how at the advent of Ragnarok, that there's going to be these two twin comets that basically hit the Earth, and from that, all sorts of cataclysmic events unfold from that. And I know Ancient Mystery did a video on that, and I played it on the Welcome to the Unveiling Part 1, which you can watch on my YouTube channel now. But on his video, he connects these two twin comets with Jormungand, which is like basically this sort of like a Leviathan kind of serpent of Midgard, right? Midgard is the earth. Then there's also this giant wolf called Fenrir, and you see that in that movie that Marvel put out, Thor Ragnarok as well. But that wolf basically consumes the sun as well. It also consumes Odin, the Norse god. But anyway, so I get into uh, this movie that's coming out the next couple months here. It's called The Eternals, that Marvel's uh, putting out there. And well, in that trailer, when I saw the trailer, it had this shooting comet that hits the Earth, but it basically has was basically equated with this so-called celestial seed. I mean, I guess it'll make sense when once you watch it, but in that movie, I mean, it's basically sort of like a popularization of the Anunnaki, right, and the Igigi, and the the whole idea of Anunnaki seeding the earth, right? Uh, or as well as genetically manipulating humanity to become what we are today, right? You see that also in Prometheus. Now, and of course, the Book of Enoch gets into that quite a bit. The story of the Watchers and interbreeding with daughters of men to produce the Nephilim, right? Uh, but yeah, and then well, I mean, you'll have to watch it yourself to see what I'm talking about with on the trailer for the Eternals. But anyway, so I get into uh, the Testament of Solomon, and the reason why I do that is because it also talks about how these Nephilim spirits or demons are sent down. Uh, they fall from heaven, right? But they manifest as shooting stars. And Wormwood is basically also a fallen angel, and you'll see what I'm talking about. But in the Testament of Solomon, it talks about how the King Solomon was given this magical ring by Saint Michael to basically control the spirits of hell to build the Temple of Solomon, and to connect that with the abomination of desolation of the Book of Daniel, right? Uh, but of course, I also connect that with how what we see in Luke chapter 10, verse 18, about Satan falling like lightning to the earth. And that's also seen in the book of Revelation, chapter 12, verse 7, with Michael hurling the great dragon and his angels to the earth, right? And of course, Lil Nas X came out with a video that's all about devil worship, right? But anyway, and then so I get into this verse that I got from reading Acts that talks about Wormwood, right? Well, I mean, it says here that the third trumpet resembles the plague of the fresh water in Exodus 7:20, but that's from this website that I quoted from reading Acts, which is really good, by the way. You should definitely check it out. But it says here the Nile turned to blood. This is the great star with a specific name, and it's important. Enoch describes fallen angels as 7 stars of heaven, the great mountains with burning with fire. And definitely talk about that in the first part of the Welcome to Unveiling series as well. And talk about how the 7 stars of heaven or Pleiades is the same as these fallen angels that rule over that specific stellar constellation, right? So it says here, it is therefore likely the image of a star falling from heaven refers to some kind of spiritual being, right? So unlike Disney saturated Western world, shooting stars were signs of good luck. So a falling star was bad luck, and a comet was even worse. Comets were considered prodigies that signaled the imminence of death and disaster. And it says here, anyone reading these verses in the first century would understand this as a bad sign. Now, what's interesting is that I think my sister actually sent me a picture of either what is a spaceship of NASA or a comet in the heavens, and that was crazy. So, but I thought that was interesting that it was so bright in the sky. It looked so strange, but it was definitely a sign. So it says here, readers miss the point of third trumpet of, by focusing on the effects of a little comet or meteorite hitting the earth. With these 3 examples in Jeremiah, the Lord giving Israel bitter or poisoned water to drink as a sign that they are under God's judgment. Consider also Jeremiah 25:15 through 16. So it says here, thus the Lord, the God of Israel, said to me, take from my hand the cup of the wine of wrath, and make all the nations to whom I send you drink it. So it says here, they shall drink and stagger and be crazed because of the sword that I am sending among them. The prophet is told to make the nations drink the cup of God's wrath. Following this command, verses 18 to 26 list many nations, concluding with Babylon. The rest of the chapter describes the Lord's judgment on the whole earth. So it says here, I am summoning a great sword against all the inhabitants of the earth. Verse 33 summarizes a great tempest is stirring from the farthest parts of the earth. Just as in Jeremiah's day, John describes a judgment on the world in which the Lord makes the whole world drink bitter water as a sign of their guilt. So, and of course, the book of Revelation gets into that quite a bit in chapter 8 rather. Um, but so on the subject of Yahweh, um, so I'll just get into a little bit here, but I definitely uh, discuss this in depth in my book, The Sunlighting Unveiled, about Yahweh and who he is and how he relates to not only the New Testament, but of course, Gnosticism and all that stuff. But I would say that Yahweh is this very complex bird. So on the one hand, he's very temperamental, vengeful, demanding, and sometimes cruel, but he's also just and holy, and sometimes merciful. So I can understand why the Gnostics divided this Yahweh character into multiple separate deities, like you see in texts like the Apocrypha of John as these archons, right, or the governors that rule over the cosmos, because he really does have sort of like this split personality, right? And the Valentinian scheme of it does make a lot of sense because they saw the demiurge as neither absolutely uh, good nor absolutely evil, but somewhere in between, right? So he's not the he may not be the supreme god, but he's more just and righteous than the other principalities and powers that rule over the cosmos, right? Including the devil, right? But I mean, it seems like what we're seeing within popular culture, in the media, in politics. I mean, everywhere, uh, especially with this pandemic that's taking over the world. I mean, it just seems like they're gradually programming and conditioning us to accept them as the only legitimate spiritual authority that exists, and as they work towards seizing control of the entire human race, you see that becoming more evident, right? And I mean, it's kind of like Agent Smith in the Matrix movies. So he's basically simulating all of the digital Matrix reality, right? Kind of like in the Borg of Star Trek. And Rudolf Steiner talks about all this as well. I mean, he talked about this way back in 1923. And the Dark Journalist actually did a video about that. I mean, I'll let you watch it yourself. And I mean, hopefully this video won't be as long as my other videos, but I'll play a few clips just to give you some more insight into what's happening. It's just so many different subjects, so little time. Once again. Um, but yeah, then there's Steve Noonan of Israeli News Live. So he did a video um, a few weeks ago. In this video, he actually talks about the Canary Islands volcano Las Palmas actually erupting. He was saying that I'm not sure where he gets his information from, but uh, he was saying that China and Russia basically created some sort of device, some sort of nuclear or some sort of bomb device that would set off this volcano in Las Palmas. And then he said this weeks ago, and look what's happening now. So I mean, so once that blows up, I mean that it's going to create a mega tsunami that's going to engulf the eastern seaboard of the United States, including Florida. And I actually live in Florida, so that's very, very alarming news. Um, so hopefully that won't happen, but you never know, right? I mean, we are uh, at the end of things, seems like. I mean, I really don't know how much time we have left, but yeah. Um, I think also the Canary Island, I think someone online pointed this out. It looks like it's sort of like a flint knife, right? And that's basically symbolic of maybe like a flint knife, like opening uh this the so-called cosmic womb that would give birth to that gives birth to the child, like you see, like in other verses of the New Testament talks about how that there's a that the end times is basically equated with the birthing of a child, right? So, and of course, the more they say peace and security, sudden destruction comes. So that basically fits the bill for sure, this volcano. But then he talks about this Apophis comet as well. That's supposedly it's going to hit the Earth in around 2029 and 2030, and that basically fulfills or partly fulfills really this Deagle calculation of this mass die-off that's going to happen within a lot of different countries, especially the United States. In at least in by the year 2025, there's going to be less than 99 million or 90 million people left. So a lot of people are going to die between now and 2025. So the vaccinations probably have something to do with it. A lot of these natural disasters as well, probably. Uh, who knows? But uh, martial law maybe. So I mean, it's like all the prophecies that all these different people have made over the years are suddenly coming to pass now. Um, and of course, Wormwood does also remind me of Planet X as well. But yeah, we'll get into that a little bit in a little bit. Um, Now the movie Greenland uh, goes into this wormwood comet that strikes the Earth, or chunks of it that enters into our atmosphere, if you believe the round Earth model of the universe, or our planet, really, rather. But uh, but yeah, that movie was pretty interesting, really, really good. Um, uh, Probably one of my favorite apocalypse movies. Really, you should definitely watch it. I think it's on HBO Max. But and of course, Tom Horn talks about this as well. He's another Christian author, a Watchman. But yeah, then I get into how Wormwood. It says here, Wormwood seems to be comparable to something that happens in alchemy, when all the planetary metals conjoin into something called the One Thing or the Monad, as pursued by black magician John Dee, a later Satanist who seek Year Zero, aka the new Aeon of Horus slash the Antichrist. So yeah, it says here some people on YouTube seem to think that the Wormwood star is a 12th planet, Nibiru, or the Destroyer, as the Colburn Bible calls it, and the powers that be are hiding it in the sky somehow. Maybe that's something to do with the chemtrails, right? It says here, NASA plainly dismisses such an object as non-existent. Now, there's a internet forum called Lashtul, which is basically all about the works of Aleister Crowley and his religion of Thelema, right? And the OTO. But one of the board members actually cited this author. His name is J. Daniel Gunther. He wrote a book called Initiation into the Aeon of the Child, The Inward Journey. I mean, I think the guy is like some sort of Thelemite OTO initiate. Um, but he wrote this book uh, that goes pretty in depth uh, about Crowley's work, but also his research and into the Bible as well, and the end times. Interestingly enough, um, but yeah, let me read a little bit from here. I'm not going to read the whole thing. I mean, you guys can read it for yourself, but I'm going to read this part that I thought was really interesting. It says here on page 169 in the same book, Gunther writes the following in chapter 5 of Liber LVX: the coming of the new Aeon is likened unto a star that falls from the heavens upon the earth. It says here, now is the pillar established in the void, now is Asi fulfilled of Asar, now is horror let down into the animal soul of things, like a fiery star that falleth upon the darkness of the earth. Through the midnight thou art dropped, O my child, my conqueror, by sword girt captain, O whore, and they shall find thee as a black gnarled glittering stone, and they shall worship thee. My prophet shall prophesy concerning thee among around thee, the maidens shall dance, and bright babes be born unto them. Thou shalt inspire the proud ones with infinite pride, and the humble ones with an ecstasy of abasement, and all this shall transcend the known and the unknown with some that hath no name, for it is as the abyss of the arcanum that is opened in the secret place of silence. Wow. It says here, the fiery star that falleth upon the darkness of the earth, and the star that is called Wormwood is in the Apocalypse of Revelation 8. 10 to 11 in the Bible are identical, the former fulfilling the inevitable need to restore balance within the psyche. And it says here, it connects that same verse from Luke chapter 10, verse 18. It says, I beheld Satan as lightning that fell from heaven. So that's the same falling star described in our holy book, Liber LVX, or the book of the law. But yeah, let me, well, there's a video that Ancient Mystery, once again, he also talks about Wormwood, right? So I'm going to play this video real quick, and then we'll get into some of the other subjects I want to discuss here. But so yeah, I'll play this here real quick.
Wormwood. In Greek, the name is absinthion or absinthos. Ap, against, sin, offense, theos, ego. Hence my translation is, against the offense of ego, meaning that the end times are caused by this ego, who is a star or angel that appears in the book of Revelation. Absinthios may also mean to be against sin's ego. Wormwood is mentioned 7 times in the Hebrew Bible, always with the implication of bitterness. 7 times bitterness. The word wormwood appears several times in the Old Testament, translated from the word la'ana, which means curse in Hebrew. The 7 become 1, as wormwood is mentioned only once in the New Testament. In the book of Revelation, the 3rd angel blew his trumpet, and a great star fell from heaven, blazing like a torch. And it fell on 1/3 of the rivers and on the springs of water. That would be referring to Hydra, a real creature. The name of the star is Wormwood. 1/3 of the waters became wormwood, and many died from the water, because it was made bitter. Revelation 8:10-11. It has been scientifically proven that the poisonous red clay brought new fauna to Earth, the worms and the northern woods, the wood of the red dragon. This would be a union of the fallen angel or star with the mother goddess, the original god of Earth. The ground is now sour. The Greek word absinthos, which rendered with the English wormwood, is believed to refer to a plant of the genus Artemisia, used metaphorically to mean something with a bitter taste. The English rendering of wormwood refers to the dark green oil produced by the plant, which was used to kill intestinal worms. In the book of Revelation, it refers to water being turned into wormwood, for example, made bitter. The fallen star or angel brings the poison, and the woods can be used to kill the worms. very similar to the cat's eyes, the stinger of Scorpio. One eye is a gift, the other is a curse. Almost as if a cure has been derived from a disease to create an antibody. Or is this simply as above, so below as above? Certain commentators have held that this great star represents one of several important figures in history, while other Bible dictionaries and commentaries view the term as a reference to a celestial being. A dictionary of the Holy Bible states, "The star called Wormwood seems to denote a mighty prince, or power of the air, the instrument in its fall. That would be the fallen chariot of it, the wind demon." Based on other passages of scripture which mention Gal and Wormwood, the star signifies a self-derived intelligence which departs from God. Thus it falls from heaven. For the star to make the waters of the rivers and fountains bitter signifies to falsify spiritual truth, as waters signify the truths derived from the word. I wonder if that word is Tao. In general, the Book of Revelation is seen as a prophecy of the corruption of the Christian churches in the end times, which is followed by a new church, signified by the New Jerusalem. A number of Bible scholars consider the term wormwood to be a purely symbolic representation of the bitterness that will fill the earth during troubled times, noting that the plant for which wormwood is named, Artemisia absinthium, or mugwort, Artemisia vulgaris, is known as a biblical metaphor for things that are unpalatable or bitter. The dragon's breath, the stinger of Scorpio, the raven of sin fire, the rock. Need I say more?
So yeah, there you go. But anyway, so I also would talk about in this article, um, this documentary called The Wormwood Star, with that actually stars Marjorie Cameron, and she's this infamous uh, occultist. I work with L. Ron Harvard and Jack Parsons that did the Babylon working, which I also talk about in my Welcome to Unveiling series. And now Wayne Bush on his website called trickedbythelight.com. Now, yeah, that guy, he does some really deep dive investigations into near-death experiences and astral projection, how it all connects to not only the Bible, but mythology and world mythology and Gnosticism. So yeah, definitely worth checking out. But yeah, you can definitely read that on your own. So yeah, let's just get into the Cathars real quick. So now Jeff Sekarak, he says that think of the Cathars, examples of superior beings we can be. Uh, they were burned alive at the stake, yet I suspect they are in a better place now, as you will be, if you resist the evildoers to the bitter end and refuse their toxic medications, though the heavens may fall. Now, considering what I've talked about on my website, as well as others like Tracy, Tracy Twyman, she talked about all this stuff in genuflect and that meat statue that I talk about in other videos. Yeah, that's definitely connected. Um, now, yeah, so the Cathars. So now on the subject of the Cathars, I mean, there's a lot of debate on whether they even existed in the first place. But I mean, such a debate, I think, also connects to whether or not the Gnostics even existed. But I mean, if you read what the church fathers have to say, but I mean, yeah, they have very obviously they have bias against them, but um, they definitely did exist in some form. I mean, but I don't think they really called their religion as Gnosticism, quote unquote. It's just they had their own tradition, religious tradition. But that's another video to get into all that. But anyway, I mean, when it comes to the Cathars, though, I mean, yeah, the Cathars didn't really call themselves the Cathars; they just called themselves Christians. Just kind of like how a lot of different Gnostic cults just call themselves Christians. Because Christianity was still up for debate in that time frame. When the first and second and third centuries before uh, Christianity was formulated into a creed, or doctrine. So. But anyway, so it says here on August 20th, while watching a string of different videos, I managed to come across some YouTube videos about the so-called Cathar prophecy involving the Cathar martyr Gilhelm Belabast, who supposedly uttered the following phrase before being roasted alive among the rest of the Cathar heretics by the Inquisition of the Roman Catholic Church. We shall return in 700 years when the laurel turns green again. So what's a laurel exactly? A laurel is a wreath worn on the head, usually as a symbol of victory. If you see an image of Julius Caesar, chances are he's wearing a laurel. As it follows, the Cathars were somehow supposed to return on August 21st, 2021. While there are certainly doubts towards the veracity of such a prophecy, it does connect to some of the YouTubers like Twin Flames International and Ask Angels with Melanie Beckler with their announcements of ascension energy from gigantic portals from lion gates. It says here on the waves of the future directly ties Malachi's prophecy to the popes, the Cathar prophecy, and the Albigensian crusade / genocide, reminding us of democide waves. Considering the current events, this prophecy is highly significant. So yeah, democide waves. So I mean, you'll have to read on your own, but basically democide is state-sanctioned genocide of the government, and I mean you see this swelling away with Biden's propaganda saying that the unvaccinated are basically the enemy of the state. He doesn't really say that, but I mean that's what the current government mindset is basically saying. Now, yeah, so again, I'll let you watch that video on your own. But it says here, so watching the above video occurred to me that the laurel that turns green again refers to the Holy Grail, the form of the Emerald Tablets of Hermes, or the diadem considered by some to be the Holy Grail that fell from Lucifer's crown in the war in heaven when he was cast down by Saint Michael. And you can look at those links on your own. It says here in alchemy there is something called the Green Lion. So one website dedicated to medieval alchemy relates to what the Green Lion represents. The self-declaration says here, I am the true green and the golden lion without cares. In me all the secrets of the philosophers are hidden. So yeah, so that kind of reminds me of the wolf, the Fenrir wolf from Norse prophecy that talks about the wolf eating the sun, right? And now we have a lion eating the sun, a green lion. So, and it says here of our Mercury, which is a green lion devouring the sun. So, it definitely has something to do with Leo, the sign of Leo, the sun, of course. But I also get into how the lion connects to the demiurge, right? And even Saint Michael. Now here's an image of Astarte or Ashtaroth. So, but below her is a lion. What does that mean? So it says here in the paper, The Myth of Ashera, the Lion Lady, and the Serpent Goddess by Stephen A. Wiggins, she is associated with the sycamore tree, the tree of life, lions, serpents, Hathor, Tanis, Astarte, and the Queen of Heaven of Jeremiah, and the wisdom concert of Yahweh. She is a quintessential embodiment of the Sun Lady. And yeah, definitely talk about Ashara or Astarte in my book, and quite in depth. So definitely take a look at that. And then here's a video of Aeon by Gnostic Radio and Miguel Connor. He actually did an interview with this Cathar priestess or Gnostic bishop who dwells in France, right? And well, Amanda Radcliffe. So a little background on her. So I actually was supposed to do an interview with her, and we actually recorded it, but somehow or another, the video, or sorry, the audio was totally screwed up. So it was, unfortunately, it was unsalvageable. So, which is why I never uploaded. So, but I'm glad Miguel did it. So, kudos to Miguel for having an unscrewed up podcast with her. But she actually talks about these black meteorite stones that she has in her possession that bleed. So, and then she also mentions something about a shift in the consciousness, right? I mean, you see this in a lot of New Age circles, of course, but she says that it's going to be really evident next year. So, but of course, you can also check out another Cathar priestess. Her name is Anaya Sophia, and she also talks about the Cathars. So I'll let you read that for yourself. So yeah, I'm gonna skip a little bit throughout this article, but yeah, here's a really interesting Cathar key belief from the Secret Supper, the book of John the Evangelist. So it says here, and I, John, questioned the Lord, saying, Lord, how did man have spiritual origin in a carnal body? And the Lord said to me, by their fall, spirits of heaven entered the female body of clay and took on flesh from the lusts of the flesh and took on spirit at the same time. Spirit is born of flesh and the flesh of flesh. And thus the reign of Satan ceases not in this world. Wow. So, and then there's another book that they wrote, the Cathars wrote, called the Book of Two Principles. And yeah, I'll let you read that on your own, but it's just too much to get into. But here's a bunch of other videos you can check out on your own. I think this one was pretty hilarious, if I'm remembering let me see. I think it might be, yeah, the same one. So I'll just play a little bit of the video. It's pretty funny. So let me play this one.
The time approaches!
Hey, Growl, what are you doing?
Make some noise, you not.
Yeah, we gotta start the movie. He ain't keep growling.
Gee, I think he's bummed out.
Stick a pin in his bum, eh?
No way.
What are you on, Valium?
Maybe I ought to crank his tail, eh? That'd start him up.
Maybe
okay, start up. Come on, eh?
Hey, we gotta call
Start
Marlon
up,
Perkins, eh? Get Wild Kingdom here, eh? Hey, come. Oh, jeez, he's getting mad, eh?
Yeah.
Well, hey, Soul Purpose Seekers, this is Nito. I found this out yesterday, And it sure does go along with everything I've been telling you about the family, the twins, the reunion, the two souls merging into one, the masculine, the feminine, the great work, the duality into unity, two twin towers, right? Two of them, two came down, one came up. Anaya Sophia, I recommend her and her page. Any friend of Kiaro's is a friend of mine. You ever heard of the Cathar prophecy? It's a Cathar prophecy that was spoken by the last known Parfait, however you say his name, moments before he was interrogated and burnt at the stake in the Occitan, if I say that right, region of southern France on August 21st at 8 a.m. in 1321. A 700-year prophecy is being fulfilled now. In 1321, same thing I just read you, the high spiritual initiate made a prophecy before he died, and he said, in 700 years, the laurel will become green again and good people will return. 2021 is the fulfillment of this prophecy. The Cathars considered the laurel to be the sacred symbol of pure love. When the inquisitors executed Cathars, the martyrs said the laurel wilts, pure love dies. But they possessed holy faith and knew that one day the laurel will become green again. The souls of the pure are returning at this age. This is what I'm telling you. The time of the reunion is upon us. And this 8-8 Lionsgate is going to be huge, man. And it's when the star Sirius, the Sirius system, aligns with the sun in Leo, which is its home sign, and they even say with the Orion's belt and the Pyramid of Giza, a huge, for lack of a better term, portal opens. So we have this on the heels of that, and most importantly, the new moon is on August 8th with this Lionsgate portal in Leo as well. Also, this is the first time this has happened since 2010. And 2010 was the last time the new moon actually landed on 8-8. All the time in between, it's been 7th, 9th, 10th, 6th. 2010, 8-8, the new moon was in Leo. 11 years later, the number of the twins, the new moon in Leo, 8-8, with this August 21st at 8 a.m., 1321 Cathar prophecy about the good people, the souls of the pure, the people who have done the work, the alchemy, the changing of lead to gold, all of that shit. I did not know this until yesterday, man, and I mean, come on. Pretty Casanito. So my advice to you is just do what you've been doing, because what good does it say otherwise? What have you done for love today? Hopefully something, because 8-8.
Can't close that. Hi, I know what you're thinking. This is weird, huh? But I can handle it.
But anyway, so yeah, the Lionsgate prophecy, so where the Lionsgate's portal, so that connects to the sign of Leo, right? I mean, I'll let you watch all that stuff, but these videos, but the Lion Gates, which I connect that the Lion Gate concept with this Leontocephaline, which is the Mithraic deity called Aion. He's the god of eternal time. And now, and I'll read this here a little bit. It says, Aion is a Gnostic and Mithraic god, a cosmic interval of time. Jung says little about the Gnostic version of such because he knows Aions are archetypes. It says here, Aion is a god of the union of opposites, the time when things come together. The figure of Aion is usually understood at the main altar of the Mithras cult. He is a man with a lion's head enveloped by a zodiacal snake. I think it's Zervan, without the U. Akarana, meaning the boundless time. The Valentinian text gives the Autopater more positive qualities. Some called him the ageless Aeon, eternally young, male and female, who contains himself and contains everything in himself and is himself contained by nothing. So in other words, Aion is the entire universe, or the tree of life, or the multiverse, right? And then now, of course, this is where I get the term Aeon anyway. So Aeon is an eternal realm, meaning a celestial emanation. All Aeons have archetypal names: logos, life, hope, love, first thought, insight, grace, prudence, nameless, unbegotten, conception, spirit, etc. Tangible types and images come forth from the invisible Aeons inhabiting the pleroma, or fullness, right? And I get that from this website. No, I talked about that from another previous video on Welcome to Unveiling. It says here the Aeon, known as the Demiurge, consorts with snakes and bears and wears the head of a lion. Cover the image of Carl Jung's book Aion. Archangels are emanations of Aeons. Archetypal images are also described as psychic and spiritual. In the first book of Jew, or Iao, Jesus tells his disciples that only Gnosis can save the soul from the archon of this Aeon and his persecutions. You become whole through a freedom in which there is no blemish. So yeah, and then I talk about this article from Talmus Rasmus. He wrote an article called "The Archangel Michael in No-Fight Creation Mythology," and he talks about how Michael can be seen as sort of like the face of the Gnostic demiurge, right? Because the demiurge is also lion-headed, and Michael also rules over Leo of the zodiac, right? And then there's also, of course, the Tetramorph as well, that also is a fourfold sort of like figure, right? So it's like a mixture of a lion, a man, an eagle, and ox. So it's like the cherubim that you see in Ezekiel, I think in Revelation 2. I forget. Um, but he's known as a Tetramorph, definitely. Now, I mean, I read somewhere that Uriel actually represents the lion aspect of the Tetramorph, but who knows? But anyway, and then yeah, I'll let you read that. But basically, it says it may have been Michael's lion shape that specifically suggested a connection with the now demonized uh, Yahweh, Yaldabaoth, since in the Hebrew Bible both Yahweh and the devil are depicted as lions. And it says here, while Bernard Bark and Howard Jackson suggest that Yaldabaoth inherited his lion shape from the devil based on Psalms and 1 Peter 5:8, or Yahweh, influenced also by Greco-Egyptian magic, I agree with Fawsum that it actually comes from Michael, who had been identified with the lion-shaped living creature around God's throne. So yeah, that's the cherubim, right? So maybe it's Michael that represents a lion, not rather than Uriel. But anyway, I'll get to Uriel in a little bit. It says here the fusion between Michael and Yaldabaoth, then endowed the later with his often attested leonine appearance. The fusion itself derives partially from Michael's status as a leading angel and from his leonine shape, but especially from the nation that the God of Israel is not the true God but an angel. So, I mean, that idea might be blasphemous, but I mean, if you do read Margaret Barker, especially her book called The Great Angel, Israel's Second Son, she gets into all that. I mean, she explains that Yahweh was actually the firstborn of Elyon, or the Most High God. So yeah, that idea does come from First Temple Judaism, which was very polytheistic and pagan, really, if you do your research. And I get into all that as well in depth in my book, The Sunlighting Unveiled. We got a drink here real quick. So anyway, and then here's a picture of Michael. That's Aion, by the way. And then there's Michael over a corpse, I guess. And then here's his soul. That little guy that he's holding represents that guy's soul, supposedly. Um, There's another Michael image again. He's weighing the souls at Last Judgment. And then there's him also laying the souls between well, he's actually making some sort of scaling of of a human soul and a demon. So he's facing the devil here. Kind of looks like a I don't know, a Saturnian Jew or something. I don't know. And then there's here's a really cool image I found of Uriel, by the way, and he's holding a sun, right? And what's my book about? The Sun Lady. So that was interesting. And here he is, like the flame coming out of his head, or his crown, right? He's a minister of fire. And what's interesting about Uriel, he's also sort of like a Grim Reaper figure. I mean, he's almost like he's both an angel and a demon at the same time. It's kind of weird if you read the magical grimoires as well. So, and I think a lot of occultists kind of have this view as well. Like they're saying basically that demons are basically the darker half of the angels. That they're basically one and the same. I mean, you see that with the Shemham Farash angels. There's 72 of those angels, right? I think that's Kabbalah. But and then there's also the 72 demons that of the Goetia, and King Solomon actually makes use of them to build his temple. But yeah, I'm gonna skip a little bit here, and then I talk about Michael uh, basically being sort of like both a face of not only Yahweh but also Christ, because the Seventh-day Adventists uh, also equate Michael with Jesus Christ too, right? So I'm gonna kind of skip a little bit here again. So I get into like the Bogomils and their beliefs and how they thought that Saint Michael was basically uh, Christ too as well. The Cathars also believe that. Um, and let's see here, and then I talked about Odin consciousness and the Vril Society of the Nazis. Uh, I got into all that stuff in my other previous video here of Welcome to Unveiling, but and then it talks about this Internet of Bodies that Klaus Schwab talks about, this global digital gulag. And here's what Titus Groan says here. It says this is the ultimate goal of evil, to cut man off from all knowledge of his true spiritual inheritance, by blinding him to the spiritual hierarchies, and more importantly, removing all knowledge of Christ from his consciousness. This is the aim of the spirit of Antichrist, to make spiritually blind and then to obliterate all knowledge of Christ and of his true nature as the great Redeemer from the souls of men. The great light of the apostolic message of the first church in the first age that had burst forth on the earth at a most critical time in its history by pulling mankind back from the spiritual abyss, was targeted by Ahriman for destruction at its beginning. So yeah, and then I mean the idea of this of AI being some sort of antichrist, digital beast matrix thing. I mean, it's not far from the truth. I mean, you see that quite a bit actually, uh, especially from this guy. His name is Jordy Rose. So, and yeah, I'll show you what he's talking about. So, this guy, he talks about AI and the D wave and CERN. But he says like the AI is somehow connected with the arrival of the ETs or the aliens, the ultra-terrestrials, the fallen angels, or the archons, or whatever you want to call them, right? I'll just play a little bit here real quick, and then so you know what I'm talking about. Then I'll skip, go back to my article here.
25% chance within 13 years of this thing that I'm talking about. You know, when you think about what you read on the news, you know, CNN, BuzzFeed, whatever, they're all kind of the same nowadays. Think about how unimportant that thing is that you're reading if this is true. Yeah? So what does this have to do with aliens? So Sam Harris, who I quite admire, is a very interesting guy, was reciting this parable at a TED Talk that he was giving, and it goes something like this. So, say I'm the President of the United States. So I receive this message from the heavens. So my microwave dish, my SETI dish, finally captures something. And what it says is, in 50 years, or 13 years, we're coming to your planet. You got to be ready. Now just imagine what would happen if that happened. A super intelligent alien race beamed down a message to all of us Earthlings saying, we're coming July 13th, 2030, and boy, you better be ready because the mothership is landing right on the front lawn of the White House or wherever you wanted to land on that day. The amount of resources that would be marshaled to try to figure out what to do would encompass the whole world. AI is just like that. So when this thing that I'm talking about happens, it's going to be exactly the thing that you're thinking about those super intelligent AIs. So the one thing I can tell you is they're not going to be like us. So alien means, you know, different. These things that we're building are not going to be people. They might be really smart, they might be really good at all sorts of different things, but they're not going to be like us. They're going to be aliens. And they're going to be, I'm sorry to say, way smarter than every single person in this room in ways that we can't even comprehend. So this, of course, triggers a lot of alarm. One of the guys who talks about this is Aion, who says things like this, like, when you do this, beware. Because you think, just like the guy in the stories, that when you do this, you're going to put that little guy in a pentagram, and you're going to have your holy water out, and you're going to wave it at the thing, and by God, it's going to do exactly what you say and not one thing more, but it never works out that way. So this is an attitude that some are having, this emerging alarmism about the way this is going to go. But these words, demons, doesn't capture the essence of what's happening here. I don't know if any of you are turn-of-the-century weird fiction fans, but there's this guy named H.P. Lovecraft, who's a very famous American weird fiction author. And he espoused a view which is called cosmicism. And the essence of cosmicism is cosmic indifference. So what he was saying is basically, yes, there are these massively intelligent entities out there, but they're not good, they're not evil. They just don't give a shit about you even in the slightest. The same way that you don't care about an ant is the same way they're not going to care about you. And these things that we're summoning into the world now are not demons, they're not evil, but they're more like the Lovecraftian great old ones. There are entities that are not necessarily going to be aligned with what we want. So this transition is really, really massively important for our entire species to navigate. And going back to that thing that Sam Harris was saying, nobody is paying attention. This thing is happening in the background while people bicker about politics and what's going to be in the healthcare plan in the US. And underneath it all is this rising tsunami that, if we're not careful, is going to wipe us all out. So, on that pleasant note, we're hiring people to try to make something like this happen. Of course, you know, this is a very difficult project, of course, and I'm kind of a little bit tongue-in-cheek about all this, like, you know, how bad things are, because it's not really like that. You know, technology is a double-edged sword. Even something like this, it's agnostic. It depends who wields it. If you want to have a say in how all this goes down, you can't sit on the sidelines. And one of the ways that you can get involved and really change the world, like, you know, a lot of people say, hey, join the Marines, you'll change the world or whatever. This opportunity that I'm talking about here in Vancouver is an opportunity for you to literally change the world. Because the code that you write may be running in the brains of these things in 10 years. So this is a huge opportunity. I'm going to ask that anybody here who is a software engineer who's really good to talk to any one of these three folks who are sat at the back there, who are Suzanne founded Kindred, and Olivia and Paula are some of our key folks in Vancouver.
So yeah, AI software engineers are equated as demonologists. And he also mentions a tsunami. Interesting.
Or talk to me, and we'll have a conversation. By the way, I love Joseph's talk. It's true. Startup life can be very, very difficult, and you will fail many, many, many times before you succeed, just as a matter of course. Thanks.
So anyway, let me go back here. So I only played that video because that dude, he makes really strong assertions saying that the uh, the study of AI technology is basically the same as a spiritist or a medium or a sorcerer, right? Or a magician. Wow, how quickly things come into fruition, huh? Yeah, and then there's this video. I'm not gonna play it, but you can watch it on your own. Ross Skiba talks about. He actually made a really interesting video or interview with some other guy about beast injections, and it connects to what that dude talks about, Geordie Rose. So yeah, definitely worth listening to. And he talked about all this stuff back in 2013, years ago, right? There's the Real Society video that I definitely recommend people to watch. And here's Robert Sepher. He did bunch of videos and books that connects to a lot of my own research, but definitely worth checking him out. And then I wrote here, so this brings us to what will supposedly occur in 2025, a key date for world civilization, according to Tom Horn. The New World Order will be semi-operational by 2025, along with the return of the Grail King, e.g. the Antichrist. Little Horn prophesied to Daniel. Tom Horn cites the Washington, D.C. phallic monument along with the Capitol Dome or are ritual monuments to conjure the rise of the beast. He also cites various Masonic temples and architecture as proof of satanic/antichrist conspiracies to not only take over the world, but also to storm the heavens and take on God himself. So yeah, good luck with that, huh? So considering the shit show chaos erupting in Afghanistan, as well as the catastrophic fallout from Hurricane Ida, various droughts leading to famine, flooding, rumbling volcanic activity, and the hyperinflation of food agriculture, perhaps we are witnessing a sneak preview of the Great Tribulation as prophesied in the Bible. Tom Horn highlights the convergence of amazing prophetic milestones and scheduled events that appear to strikingly line up with a clear biblical prophecy. And so we sit back and watch the clown show unfold, all moving towards Revelation 13-14, like a flood. Coincidentally, 2024 is when the eclipse is supposed to be completed from 2017, thus forming an X over America. So yeah, so I mean there was this eclipse that happened in August of 2017 that formed sort of an X over America, and so but supposedly that's going to be completed by 2024. So we'll see. So I'll let you watch all those different videos, and then I get into a little bit here about speaking of the Cathar, so the founder of the French Gnostic Church, his name is Jules Donnel. He actually created the French Gnostic Church based on a seance he did with some other occultists and magicians. So after he received a message from these spirits of the Cathars, he suddenly had some sort of change of heart. Suddenly became a Roman Catholic, and he collaborated with Leo Taxil to write an expose on Gnosticism and Freemasonry called Lucifer Unmasked. Now, what's interesting about this connection is that the Leo Taxil is the one that is pegged to be the true author of the Three World Wars letter of Albert Pike. And of course, Albert Pike was a Freemason and initiated of Baphomet. If you look at his cross there, his double cross, of course, that's a symbol of the Grail and Baphomet. And Baphomet, of course, is a symbol of Satan. Anyway, it says here, as pointed out in my book, The Sunlight Unveiled, I discussed the work of Joe Fisher, who was involved in channeling his spirit guides, but turned out to be wicked spirits from hell. So First Timothy 4:1 tells us this, and the Spirit expressly says that in later times some will depart from the faith, giving heed to deceiving spirits and doctrines of demons. And then Richard Stanley, now this guy is really interesting. So he's actually, I don't know, I think he is a boyfriend of that Amanda Radcliffe Cathar priestess I mentioned earlier. Not too sure what their connection is or what the deal is, but that's generally none of my business. But anyway, he directed the movie The Color of Space, but he talks about the Cathar mysteries as well. He talks about the Nazi Grail hunter Alteron. And so that connects to Brill Society, but he mentions in one of his videos, no, this guy's Richard Stanley, but he says that that there's this book called the Cathar Book of Love, and he says that he connects that with this apocalyptic sounding book of seven seals, and claims that the book would not be open until the day of the Lord / Judgment Day. Now, Judgment Day or the day of the Lord is when the earth is melted by his coming, right? Because when God descends to the earth, that's when the world matter basically melts before his presence. So you see that in different apocalyptic books like the Book of Enoch. And there's another book I wrote, or not, or talked about as well in my, I think the Book of Zerubbabel, if you remember that one. But yeah, so the Book of Life, that also plays in the Book of Revelation as well. Then he also talks about this Cathar spirit that inhabits this Black Madonna statue. And to me, it sounded like a lot like the Sun Lady. And this is taken from an article that I found by Val Wynyard. So she wrote that the forges of Montségur became a Cathar cathedral. Esclarmonde de Fox was portrayed as a original high priestess. She changed into a dove. She was burnt alive, and her spirit flew to freedom. At spirit-raising sessions in Paris, she started to appear to believers. Some people claim to be reincarnated from her, still do. But Esclarmonde was a popular name until century. The lady burned was not Esclarmonde de Fox, but for she would have been 90 years old at the time, having been born in 1154. She died in 1232. She is usually depicted as a very young and beautiful, and was a great lady who became a parfait, a lady Cathar priestess or priest. She is sometimes known as the guardian of the Grail. Others think the true purpose of the besieging of Montségur was to find the Holy Grail, and when the Catholics could not find them, they burned the Cathars in revenge. So you can take a look at that for yourself. And then, I wrote here that September would basically be the start of sort of like the rumblings, the beginnings of the Great Tribulation. And if you see what's going on with this volcano, in Las Palmas. I don't know. It seems like it's definitely connected. Uh, but yeah, so yeah, I'll let you read it on your own. So I basically say that so this Cathar prophecy. I mean, it just basically kind of connects to the return of the Cathar religion that will supposedly thwart Rex Mundi's counterfeit kingdom on Earth. So we'll see how that pans out. uh, but yeah, we're basically in this in the age of the Spirit, the Holy Spirit. That's where we are now. So that's why the Cathar religion is returning to the world. Um, so I think we're almost done here. There's a few other things I want to show you guys real quick. So let me pull this up article here that I found about the archangel Gabriel. Right now, I don't talk about this in my article. It's definitely worth pointing out. So Gabriel is the archangel that you see in the Bible quite a bit. Uh, Gabriel is the one that announces that Jesus is going to be born to Mary, right? But look what Gabriel's holding here. It looks like a laurel. I mean, I know it's like a lily, I think, but just it does remind me of a laurel. Um, so I thought that was interesting. And then there's this other article I was reading. It's called, let me pull it up here. So it definitely connects to what Billy Bast prophesied at his death. So it's loading here. Come on. Hopefully it's going to load pretty soon here. Well, if it doesn't, I'll just basically kind of explain the reason why I even talk about it. But it's an article about the Bema judgment seat that you see in St. Paul's writings. But basically, uh, the Bema seat. Here we go. This is the judgment seat of Christ, right? Of the believers. So this is different from judgment of the sinner that's cast into the lake of fire at the end of things, the day of the Lord, when he's not found in the book of life, right? Here's Revelation 2:22. So that's interesting. It says, "Behold, I am coming quickly, and my reward is with me to render to every man according to what he has done." And what's interesting is that, or Revelation 22:12 rather, is that well, I mean, 222 is a number that I keep seeing quite a bit lately. And then I found out that 222 connects to the Archangel Uriel. If you'll look at the Strong's Concordance too. But yeah, let me read a little bit here, and I'll definitely post a link to this article on the description box so you guys can take a look at it yourself. But let me find what I'm talking about here. So it says here, it says here, this word was taken from Isthmian games where the contestants would compete for the prize under the careful scrutiny of judges who would make sure that every rule of the contest was obeyed. The victor, that says here, they reference 2 Timothy 2:5. Also, if anyone competes as an athlete, he will not be crowned as a winner unless he competes according to the rules. The victor of a given event who participated according to the rules was led by the judge to the platform called Bema. There the laurel wreath was placed on the head as a symbol of victory. So it says here, in all of these passages, Paul was picturing the believer as a competitor in a spiritual contest. As a victorious Grecian athlete appeared before the Bema to receive his perishable award, so the Christian will appear before Christ's Bema to receive his imperishable award. The judge at the Bema bestowed rewards to the victors. He will not whip the losers. We might add, neither did he sends them to hard labor. So in other words, this is a reward seat and portrays a time of rewards or lost rewards following examination, but it is not a time of punishment where believers are judged for their sins. Such would be inconsistent with the finished work of Christ on the cross because he totally paid the penalty for our sins. Um, but yeah, I'll let you read all that stuff for yourself, but you kind of get the gist of what I'm talking about. So last but not least, I definitely want to play this real quick, and then I think we'll be into this video. So Jacob Israel posted a video about the Matrix Resurrection, which is the Matrix 4, which is coming out, funny enough, on December 22nd, 2021, right? And well, I'm not gonna play the video because it's just too much. I think the video's already too long already. So I'll post the video, the description, or the URL of the video. But yeah, look at here. Look, 33222. Now, what's interesting about this video, or that number 22, like I mentioned, 222, like I mentioned earlier, is that that's Uriel's number, right? And Jacob Israel is also an interesting story as well. They see in the Bible, in Genesis in particular, and I'll read a little bit from my book. Let me pull it up here. Hopefully, actually, let me pull it up here. 1 second. It's getting. There you go. So hopefully it loads pretty soon here. But yeah, let me pull it up. Come on. There we go. Yeah, it's really slow. 1 second. Okay. So it says here, this is from my book, The Sunlight Unveiled. Additionally, Uriel's name is invoked as among the angels identified as the dark angel who wrestles with Jacob. As we'll see in the prayer of Joseph, Uriel states, I have come down to earth to make my dwelling among men, and I'm called Jacob by name. The exact meaning of this statement is not clear, but it suggests that Uriel might have become Jacob, thus making him the first angel of record to become immortal. So in other words, both the lower ego of Jacob and the heavenly alter ego Uriel were both competing to become Israel. And Israel is also an angel, by the way. I know it's sounds kind of funny, but you see that quite plainly in not Uriel, but Origen's writings about the pair of Jacob. And yeah, I'll definitely let you read that for yourself. But yeah, that's about it. This, I think, as far as going to go. But definitely keep an eye on what's happening in Las Palmas, and so hopefully nothing too bad happens. Uh, but yeah, we're definitely under. We're definitely at the end of things. I feel like I feel it in my bones. I don't know what's going to happen exactly, but uh, I think Earth changes will be accelerating very soon here. Uh, here's some different tweets that I found online. There's Dr. Fausti, or Fauci. Dr. Fauci, as I like to call him. He's a Nazi. Here's a cyclo-communism. Here's what's happening in Australia. Sort of a meme. Saudi Agorist posted. Yes, a cancel culture. That's a Mao, right? Then there's a tweet I made about the Pfizer vaccine. Well, connects the Pfizer vaccine, the 666 number, phone number, customer service number of Pfizer. And then I connect that with this 666 law that I posted. You could definitely click on it on your own to see what I'm talking about. And I talk about Karl Marx because he's basically a Satanist himself. Not in so much in the theistic sense, but I mean he was an atheist after all. But well, I mean who knows if that's even true because he was a Freemason at one point. Uh, here's a funny joke: the Taliban would now require vaccine passports to attend public executions. And then COVID is actually the mirror opposite of Divuk, which is a Hebrew term for demonic possession. Huh, interesting. And here's this Fruit Loop talking with this Taliban terrorist. Uh, here's Hillary. Here's Biden. With walking around the basically the hellfire he's made of the United States so far, or he's not even done yet, or he's early in the first year of his presidency, and there's chaos everywhere. uh, here's a little clip from X-Files. You can watch your own. It's not a virus. It's genocide. It requires participation, which Satan knows his time is short, and he wants you to trust him, to go with him. Those who refuse to take tests and get vaccines will be made the enemy of the world, of the whole world, and by it will come the fulfillment of prophecy. Then here's a Bible quote. Warning to rich oppressors. This is a warning to the deep state and the Illuminati, right? It says, come now, you rich, weep and howl for the miseries that are coming upon you. Your riches have rotted and your garments are moth-eaten. Your gold and silver have rusted, and their rust will be evidence against you, and will eat your flesh like fire. You have laid up treasure for the last days. Behold the wages of the laborers who mowed your fields, which you kept back by fraud, cry out, and the cries of the harvesters have reached the ears of the Lord of hosts. You have lived on the earth in luxury and in pleasure. So anyway, yeah, you can read that. And I forgot where that comes from exactly, but I guess you can figure out. There's a cherubim angel or Ophanim, and here's another funny meme. Be not afraid. And here's this guy asking about the angel's pronouns. Well, dude, this angel has many pronouns, since they have many titles and many aspects, since they are spirits. But anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. So definitely purchase my book, The Sun Lady Unveiled, which is still available on Amazon and on Lulu.com. So yeah, definitely check it out. So anyway, hope you guys enjoyed this video. You guys have a good one. See ya. Peace.